Now, believe it or not, there are some right-wing people I have some respect for. I disagree with their views, but I can see that they're sincere, educated, and actually defend their positions properly. And you know what? I'll give them a fair shake. Adam Brooks is not one of them. He is one of the biggest liars, charlatans, and frankly, a pathetic pick-me. I mean, just look at his tweets calling on Daddy Elon to notice him. He went on GB News to attack Zack Polanski, and bless him, he really thought he ate here. But his entire arguments were full of vague platitudes, devoid of logic, and of course didn't actually engage in the argument in a serious way. But that's because Brooks isn't a serious commentator. He's generally a very stupid man. But GB News platforms him because it's a right-wing channel, and of course, they're going to boost a right-wing voice. I mean, GB News is billionaire-owned, and of course they don't like Zack Polanski, who wants wealth taxes. And of course, when it comes to Adam Brooks, they'll platform him irrespective of whether he is intelligent or not. GB News had a panel discussion on Zack Polanski. Of course, they're not going to give him a fair shake, but what I've done is only keep the Adam Brooks bits so I can rebut what he's saying about him. Let's react to it.
I'm not going to hold back here, Alex. Zack Polanski is a danger to this country. Can honestly anyone picture him as our Prime Minister? For me, he's a complete pillock.
So far, so good. I mean, he said nothing of substance. He's a pillock, and can you picture him as Prime Minister? Great work, Brooks.
He thinks he can end wars by asking leaders not to have wars. He wants men in wigs in women's toilets. He wants crack cocaine and heroin to be legalised.
So, there we go. The first three arguments from Brooks. Number one, he wants to stop wars by asking him. So this is in reference to an interview Zack Polanski did, in which he was asked, would he just press the nuclear button in terms of Vladimir Putin? Or how would you get other nations to give up their nukes? And he said, well, we need to have diplomatic ties with other countries. We'll speak to them first. And apparently this is Brooks saying he's going to end wars by speaking to people. I don't know if Brooks knows his history, but did you know that every war ends with speaking to people? A war happens, there's lots of fighting, and then you come to a peaceful negotiation. Now, some people say, why don't we skip the bloodshed and try and do peaceful negotiations? Sometimes that can work, sometimes that doesn't work. I mean, clearly Brooks doesn't understand the political reality we live in, or even understand global politics, because I don't want a prime minister to say, I'm not going to speak to anyone, I'm just going to shoot first. I mean, that's incredibly irresponsible. That's what diplomacy is. I don't think Brooks has ever heard of the word diplomacy. You speak first, and if negotiations fail, then you go the other route. It's called being a good leader, not being a fucking psychopath. So the idea that Zack Polanski can't be prime minister because he'll talk to other people, I think that's a good thing. Then, of course, he goes into his transphobic dog whistles. He wants men in wigs in women's bathrooms. That's not the reality. He just respects trans people. Of course, we've had this tired bathroom debate over and over again. And the right wing, of course, in their view, trans people is just man in a wig. And the idea that actually women are in danger in single-sex spaces, in women's bathroom because of trans people is ludicrous. Because, first of all, if you're a sexual abuser or rapist or whatever, you're not going to look at a toilet sign saying, oh, sorry, trans people are not allowed. And these people are going to go, oh, shit, how do I abuse people now? They're just going to do it anyway. Also, it's illegal. So let's say you are a trans person. You've transitioned from male to female and you go in a women's bathroom and you commit sexual assault. You do realize that's illegal. Like, these people will go to prison for it. So he's acting like it's absolutely fine. We have laws in place that says you can't do it. But obviously what he's trying to say is, oh, if we allow trans people to go into the bathroom they identify, it's more likely going to happen. I'm telling you right now, it's very, very rare. And of course, it then leads to the situation in which gender criticals don't think about, which is, well, how do you police it? How do you stop trans people going into the bathroom they identify with? And you end up in a situation where you're basically going to have genital checks. Like, how are you going to know? Because most people mind their own business. Most people, normal people, not like Brooks, are like, I don't care what other people are doing. I don't care what's in their pants. It's not for me to think about. Yeah, gender criticals want to have a world in which, well, we need to check people's genitals to check if they're in the right bathroom. You simply can't police it. And guess what? When you do that, it harms cis women. Because cis women, who might not conform to specific standards of what a woman is in the eyes of many people, are going to be transvestigated. Maybe a woman's got short hair. Maybe she's a butch lesbian. Maybe she's not in the exact beauty standards of what Adam Brooks thinks is a beautiful woman, and they're transvestigated. Like, he doesn't think about these things. These are actually complex issues, and the right wing and TERFs and gender critical people are actually making biology, human biology, which is, again, an incredibly complicated thing, into a simple binary, which is man and woman, more, that's it. But of course, when it comes to this culture war, the right wing have the upper hand because, of course, they're making the more simplistic argument. But that's not Zack Polanski and the Green Party's entire politics. Then lastly, he goes on to, he wants to legalize crack cocaine. Does Brooks think that the drug war is working? It's clearly not. People are taking drugs regardless of our laws. And the Green Party actually have a sensible policy on drugs, which is decriminalization and legalization. Now, does that mean people can just take crack on the streets and shoot up in heroin? No, because that's what we have right now. We have people on the streets who are running around high on crack, who are dangerous when they're high on crack. We've got people on street corners on heroin. So that's already happening. If we were to legalize it and treat it as a health issue, not a criminal issue, we can actually make it easier for people who are addicted to drugs to give them the help they need. And lots of ways of doing that. You can have specialized centers where people can get a dosage of heroin with clean needles in a clean, safe environment with professionals overseeing them. But yeah, of course, no, let's continue the really good war on drugs, which is absolutely working right now. Again, Adam Brooks and the right wing who trot out this line have never really engaged with the argument, have never spoken to people on the other side. And guess what? When you listen, you understand it's far more complicated than just, oh, we want everyone taking crack. But again, Adam Brooks is a charlatan. He doesn't engage in the argument. He's just chatting utter bollocks.
What else is there? He wants more asylum seekers, considering the crimes that we're seeing and the expense that we're all having to pay our taxes because of more immigration in this country.
Again, untrue. Zack Polanski and the Greens have never said we want more asylum seekers. That's never been the position. Zack hasn't said, do you know what? I want more asylum seekers. There's a difference between saying, well, first of all, given the history of Britain, the way you've colonized everywhere, given our role in global affairs, in war and bombing countries and facilitating genocide, we are actually destabilizing different regions. Given Afghanistan, the role of the US and the UK with that. In fact, many Afghan soldiers helped the West, right? And now they're under threat by the Taliban. I would say, do you know what? They've got a right to come here because they literally helped the West. They were side by side with British soldiers, right? There's a difference by saying we should have compassion for refugees. Of course, if they commit any crimes, they face the full force of the law. No one's getting away with crimes. And saying, I want more asylum seekers. Again, the left has never called for that. Zack Polanski has never called for that. But once again, Adam Brooks is lying on TV saying Zack Polanski wants more asylum seekers. Then he talks about taxpayers' money. We'll talk about the economy in a second. Of course, there's no such thing as taxpayers' money. It's a really annoying myth that a lot of people put out there to say it's your money going to this. It's not, right? You're paying a portion of your wage to the state, but you're buying into a social contract, right? It pays for schools, hospitals, our government, roads, etc., right? If we didn't have that, you'd have nothing. But it's not your money, really.
He would bankrupt this country within 3 months. And the scary thing is that a lot of 16 to 24-year-olds are falling for this chancer. He just wants fame. You can see it in all the videos that he does.
Okay, there we go. So Brooks has shown that he has no fucking clue about the economy. The very fact that he said he's going to bankrupt this country in 3 months, he doesn't know how our economic system works. This country cannot go bankrupt. This economy doesn't work in that way. We have a sovereign currency. We have the Bank of England. We create money. It's funny how people in the mainstream media say, we don't have a magic money tree. Ironically, we do, right? We literally put in a zero on a spreadsheet or on a computer, and we've literally just created money. We cannot run out of money. We can spend money because we can create it out of thin air. Now, of course, there are restrictions to that. You can't just endlessly print money or create money because there are issues with inflation, for example, and you have to do it in a way in which you communicate your economic policy, your long-term economic policy, in order for the currency not to crash, right? But we don't have a finite economy. We don't have economy like your personal household. They call it the household budget. Brooks is pushing the myth that we have a finite amount of money And actually, Zack Polanski is going to spend too much money and then we're bankrupt. We cannot go bankrupt. And the fact that he's saying this means he knows fuck all about the economy, yet he's so confident pushing these lies. Then he goes on and says, I can't believe 18 to 24-year-olds are falling for this. The reason why people between the ages of 18 and 24 are very left-wing is because the right-wing politics and the Thatcherism we've lived under the last 50 years hasn't worked for us. The social contract has broken down. Young people can't get on the housing ladder. Rents are extortionate. Bills are high. No one has had any hope in this country. And the world in which our parents and grandparents lived in no longer applies today. And yet we've had people like Brooks, we've got the Conservatives, Labour and Reform pushing the same politics, which is we just need more Thatcherism. No, we don't. It's not just young people. Polls show that those aged between 18 and 49 back the Green Party. So it's not stupid little youngsters that Brooks thinks. It's 45-year-old, 50-year-olds who are in work. It's the right-wing parties like Reform who have support from the old boomers who had it good in their day, who continue to have it good.
I can see it being Reform versus Greens, and that is a scary prospect for this country. He's clearly clueless. He was asked about economic numbers. He couldn't answer. Right. The man, I know more about politics and economics than this guy, and I'm a publican.
What? Adam Brooks is confidently saying he knows more about politics and economics. First of all, what does it mean when you say, I know more about politics? Like, what? That doesn't really make sense. I mean, everyone has different views on politics. Politics isn't like a science or a math equation where it's like, I know the answer to this. It's like a non-answer. It makes no sense. Then he says he knows more about economics. Again, he's flat out lying. And once again, Brooks is pushing the lie that, oh, we're going to be bankrupt. So no, Adam, you don't know more about politics, whatever that means. And you certainly don't know more about economics than Zack Polanski.
So anyone that thinks they can vote him in as Prime Minister is voting for this country to be bankrupt. If we was getting attacked, would Zack Polanski press the nuclear button, yes or no?
So then I think they have like a debate back and forth with a Green Party member on the panel. And he's like, would Zack Polanski push the button? I mean, first of all, Zack Polanski isn't there. So, I mean, ask him yourself. But also the idea that would he press a button to blow up millions of people? Of course he won't. I mean, he's against nuclear weapons. So he wouldn't. But look, this is the kind of slop we have to deal with. Like, once upon a time, I do think there were quite a lot of right-wingers out there who actually had some kind of intellectual curiosity about them. I think you could have genuine debates with people on the right wing. That doesn't exist anymore. Adam Brooks is a great example of it. He just pushed a litany of platitudes. Nothing engaged in the argument. It's literally slop that you see on Twitter. Oh, he wants men in wigs in bathrooms. Okay, that's not really engaging with the argument. He's going to bankrupt the country. Doesn't understand economics, and he calls him like a pillock and an idiot. Like, these are not logical arguments as to why Zack Polanski shouldn't be Prime Minister. And I find it very funny that he thinks that the prospect of Reform versus Greens and the idea that the Greens are popular is dangerous and scary. I find the proposition of Reform scary. One, because they're continuing to push Thatcherism, the shit we've lived under for the last 40, 50 years. Nigel Farage is a billionaire bootlicker. I mean, he was flown to Davos on billionaire dimes. He's friends with Donald Trump, a fucking rapist and paedophile. I mean, look, you don't have to agree with Zack's and the Green Party's policies on everything. But the idea that we've got someone like Adam Brooks saying that you shouldn't vote for Zack Polanski because he's a pillock, the guy should just look in the mirror.